going to go ahead and get started. I want to welcome all of you to the April 4th Innovation World Alliance meeting. Thank you so much for joining us. For anyone who isn't aware of what the Alliance is, we are simply a coalition of organizations that spend time supporting young innovators, either through their educators or through their programs or directly with the students in some cases. And we try to do things in our communities, in our states, nation, and some of us are working around the world. So thank you all for joining us. Did I say I'm Julie Shively? I don't think I said that. I am from the Columbus, Ohio area, but right now I'm in Hocking Hills in a cabin on a little tiny mini vacation, and I found that they have better internet here than my own home in a major city, which is really disappointing. But I'm glad to find out what the problem has been. So I just want to tell you real quickly what the format of this is today. Jake will go around and have everyone do introductions of who they are and where they're coming in from. Then we have a guest speaker tonight, Jim Bruno, who has some fascinating things to tell us about the work he's doing, followed by, first time ever, a workshop that we are doing with our friends and fellow Alliance members from Eurekas. And we're making, those of us who signed up will have then got the packages anyway, we'll be making light up name tags, and I encourage anyone who didn't to still watch anyway, because I think you'll learn a lot from it, and you'll certainly learn more about what Eureka does, and you can connect with them later too. And I think that there is a link that Monica gave me that will be in the recap where you can go and you can investigate this project further too. Right. All right, Jake, it's all yours.
Great. Well, thank you. My name is Jake Mendelson, and I've been working with Julie and trying to be some background support. Right now, it looks like the best thing I can do for Julie is to get her to move out into the wilderness in the woods where she has better internet connection. But what my job is right now is to ask each one of you to introduce yourself and say who you are and where you are. I always think I love the geography aspect of this. So if we could, Monica, would you like to tell us who you are?
Hi guys, I'm Monica Aiello, and this is
Tyler Aiello.
And we are joining you guys from Denver, Colorado, and we are artists and the co-founders of Eurekas, and we're super excited to do some making with you later in the session.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. And Susie, who are you and who are your friends?
Hi, I'm Susie Murphy, Director of Kid Invent Mentors, where we teach innovation to kids who are curious about innovation or kids who already have an invention that they are interested in taking to the next step. We mentor them through that process. My friends here is Oliver. This is Oliver, my son, and Grace, and they're going to help us with today's project. So thanks for having all of us on spring break.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. And Marcy, who are you?
Hi, folks. I'm Marcy Klein. I'm actually Zooming from Boston, my daughter's apartment today. But I'm normally from Connecticut, and I head up Three Ducks Design, which is cardboard modeling and construction sets for prototyping, engineering, and architecture.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Ahern, please, who are you?
Yep, my name is Erin, and I am the director for the Young Inventor Challenge, which is part of People of Play. And I am in Chicago.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. And Crystal, please. And oh, you have a friend also.
Go ahead.
My name is Cash. I'm 9 years old, and I live in Huntsville, Alabama. This is my mommy, Crystal.
Well, you know who I am now. So this is Crystal and Cash. We're a duo for blogging, an education blog called At Mama Sweet Baby. Obviously, I'm Mama and this is the baby. And he decided to come and join. We're, like you said, we're in the Huntsville, Alabama area. And he's joining me today to do our project. So
great. Thank you. Thank you. And Sylvia, please.
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. I'm joining you from Upland, but I could also say Los Angeles, California. I work in the entrepreneurial and empowerment space for educators and families through Kidpreneurs, as well as raising empower kids.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. And Kristen, please.
Hi, I'm Kristen. I'm with Hewitt Learning and the U.S. National Innovator Challenge. Normally, I'm up in Spokane, Washington, but right now I'm down in Clarksdale, Mississippi. So, and I am currently in a old theater that's being renovated, and my companions, my kids, are all running around. So that's who you hear in the background.
Good luck. Jim, please. We're going to hear more from you, but please introduce yourself.
Hello, it's nice to see all of you. I am Jim Bruner. I am the alpha farmer and futurist farmer at Mezzocello Urban Farm, which is in downtown Columbus, Ohio. And Mezzocello is a urban farm that seeks to blend traditional agriculture, how we grow food, why food's important, what nutrition is, with technology. So it's all robots and servers, renewable power, and water purification. That's all the kids design systems for that work in harmony with nature. And that's what I'm doing right now, and I love it. It's also my home. This is my home. Mezzocello is behind that window. And yeah, it's a hot mess right now because we had a huge storm come through. One of my vertical wind turbines got knocked off, and I'm currently welding that back together. So great to be here. Also, it's lovely to see so many people that I see on the LinkedIn experiment when we are doing that. It's nice to see your faces. So.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. And Elise, you don't have your camera on, but you can still talk.
Yeah, I don't have my camera on today, but it's really great to see everybody here. My name's Elise Gaynor. I work at Digital Promise. We're an education nonprofit. I'm based in Oakland, California. And then my specific project related to everybody here is our Youth Made Festival, which is our global celebration of youth creativity and innovation from May 6th to 19th. And this year we're offering grants for student projects. So just really excited for this year and just to see all the different things that students have been working on.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. And then there's another Monica. Is that Monica? Is that you've got two? Is there another Monica? You're muted.
That's our other computer so that we can see what you guys see.
Okay. It's okay. It's okay. That's just wanted to make sure we didn't lose anybody. Elise, could you just turn your camera on for 30 seconds? I'm supposed to take a screenshot and I want to make sure we have everybody. We're not judgmental here, so if your background is bad, we don't care. Okay.
It wasn't working for a second.
Hello, it's nice to see you.
Okay, great. I fulfilled my screenshot obligation. Okay, Julie, back to you.
Please give me 1 second.
Oh, okay, well, we have a second. Anyone want to tell a joke? Jim, you must know 1,000.
Oh, I do, but they're not here. I can't think of a joke. I'm terrible at on-the-spot improv.
I am really sorry.
Why?
I'm very, very sorry. We're at a cabin in the woods, and the cabin owner just came to collect his check. So I wanted to introduce Jim really quick before he gets started, if that's okay, Jim.
Of course.
I have known this man for probably 20 some years. Yes. When we were about 10, right, Jim? Mm-hmm. I've known him for a long time. I first met him. I knew him for many years as the man with a fedora before I even knew his name, but he was always a judge at the Ohio Invention Convention. And I ended up later running the operations for it. So then I got to know Jim much better. He spent some time as the board president for the program for a few years as well. So he's very tuned in to the youth innovation space. And the fact that he turned his efforts towards this urban farm is just really cool. And I'm always thrilled to hear the new things he's doing and hoping someday he comes and gives me a bit of advice on my own property and the things that you can do. He does all of this in a little compact area right smack in the middle of downtown Columbus, Ohio. So sure, I could do something on my spot if he can do it there. So I want to go ahead and pass it on to you, Jim, but it's just a pleasure to have you here tonight, and I'm real excited to listen to what you're going to tell the whole group.
Well, thank you.
And if you leave us some time, we'll ask you questions.
Okay, how much time do I have?
Right now, you have 16 minutes total, and that includes question time.
I can do this in 10. All right, so
All right.
Julie is correct. I have known her for more years than either of us are willing to admit. And when I met her I was in my mid-30s when I realized, there's something about these kids. I never reproduced. So, because my genes suck, I would never do that to another human being. And I know it. But I do love children. And I do love the idea that if we empower children and give them the opportunity to really look at problems from their perspective, not from our fear, they see new solutions every time. And I know there are at least 3 of you here that will see that absolutely true. What we need is to empower kids to want to ask questions and not wait to have them answered. So what I worked with the state of Ohio in their educational technology group for 14 years. And then I left there and I worked for a newspaper on their digital media component. And I absolutely hated it because blood and violence sells. And it was just always bad news, bad news. After a year of bad news, I'm like, no. So I went to another company, which was a nonprofit called Partnering Anthropology with Science and Technology. And I loved it. I worked there for 10 years. And what I learned there is that humans learn in a very specific, in a very specific way. They learn mostly through play, but they learn better through failure. If failure is placed not as a destination, but as a data point that they can say, oh, don't do that again. Let's try this. Don't do that again. Let's try this. And have people really reflect. So if I had to tell you the one thing that when I left Past Foundation last year, after 10 years, and I started Mezzocello Urban Farm, the one thing I want for children and parents to reflect together. Because a child reflecting on his own it's just a fairy tale. A child reflecting with his parents is a lesson. The 2 of them seeing each other as equals is the future. So I built this farm because I need food, and I saw a hole in our educational map that nobody was teaching kids farming, which a lot of people do that, and it's important, but it means nothing if you don't know what farming does for the rest of the community that doesn't care about farming. So I decided to create a legacy of 2 hands. Dirty hands in the garden. Clean hands developing robotics, automation, sensors, power generation, water clarification and purification, and livestock. Because handling livestock can actually be very, very clean if you do it from the egg and baby. And then you pass that off to the group that want to get their hands dirty, because that is the essence of humanity. And now I'm at a crossroads where I've developed this learning lab, and Julie wasn't kidding. I am literally 15 blocks from the state capitol. I am in downtown Columbus. When I look out to the west, there is downtown Columbus. And so it's 1/3 of an acre in a property that used to be 2 other houses that I had to completely step back and renovate because the ground was atrocious. 6 houses had been built there and torn down and left. There were sewer lines, there were power lines, there were water lines. I had to track all of that. And I had to build Mezzocello up from the ground or under the ground, which means digging out foundations of old houses, which I did, the ground, which is where I grow things, and the environment above. And so there's three ecosystems that are all turning into each other here. And where I want to go next with this is I want to increase my programming, but there's only so much I can do during the summer because obviously that's the optimal time. But if I move to a digital in-school program, I could just bring aspects of Mezzocello with me. So if you will, go on a mind journey with me. You know that my farm, maybe you don't, but you will now, is 2 plots wide. So it's 75 feet by 150 feet. It's 32 meters by 74 meters. And if you took a pipe and you put it, a 2 meter wide pipe, and you put it down through into the ground, 4 meters below, you would see sky, trees, plants, dirt, grass, whatever. Underneath the dirt and grass, compost. Underneath that, microlife. Underneath that, hard clay from glacial movement, because that's where I live. I live under where a glacier used to be. It's very flat here, but it's hard compressed clay, and you can't grow anything in it really because it has no nutrients. It holds water, but it doesn't let it go. So, I mean, I've had the police called on me 3 times for digging graves because all my beds look like graves because I have to remove the clay to put in the compost that my robots build for me. And yes, absolutely. I have a website. I'll share it with you. So after doing all of that, now I'm running camps and I'm fairly successful. But where I want to go next is competitions between parents and children to challenge each other in solving problems that their kids are going to be inheriting. And when I'm talking about this, I'm not talking about climate change. I'm talking about climate reality and cultural revolution. I think that kids are growing tired of the games that we've been playing for the last 80 years with the status quo. And so with this new opportunity that I'm working on, I'm calling it status grow, not status quo, because that's the mindset we need everybody to have. And I wonder, what could I do to make the competition between parents and kids more effective and turn that into a cultural revolution? Because right now, kids have no power. And they come here and they have all the power because all of my camps, all 12 of them, are taught by middle school kids who came here last year and the year before. And I'm running a leadership academy with them. And I've hired 2 teachers, which I'm required to have for insurance, but these kids will be teaching. And I want these kids to teach kids to teach. So the ultimate goal is empowering mentorship, peer-to-peer, near-peer mentorship in these concepts and getting this idea that we cannot continue to wait for the world to get safe enough for us to make meaningful change. We can do it right now. What we need to do is empower the workforce that is yet to come with the tools that they need to ask the important questions and make, even more critically, the important decisions. How do I tell people that without terrifying them? That's my question. See, this is the exact response I get from kids.
Can I offer a suggestion?
Certainly.
Have your students lead that discussion with the parents.
Ooh, what a great idea. One of the things I've done at Mezzocello is I built a 5th studio, a 5th barn that is all video. We could do it right there. I didn't think about that. That's a great idea, Julie.
I think it'll be better received by the students then, and it might empower them a little bit, and it will ensure that the parents know up front that the students are in charge, I think. You're going to come back and tell us how it ends up working, right?
Of course. It'll probably be a gift presentation, actually, but yeah, I love that. Yes, Marcy.
So in terms of getting buy-in, I think positive, empowering, and fun rather than scary and like the end of the world apocalyptic
I
would get
agree.
more buy-in. And to take Julie's idea, and if you have a video, like, I'm not sure exactly how you're planning this little component, but I like the idea of middle schoolers and maybe getting middle schoolers to run like a short video segment. Because the younger kids will love watching, as you know, teenagers rather than adults. And it would give the teens really good communication skills and like quote social media technology type skills that they're going to need anyway. So have them run a podcast on different topics, like short enough that they can master it.
Ooh, I just had a great idea, Marcy. What do you think about the word KidCast?
If you're looking for middle schoolers to do it,
Mm-hmm.
Teamcast or something that's like more what they want to be and less what they don't want to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But maybe Teamcast, or I'm sure there's a really good name, but I like that concept. And they would have to, they'd have to step up their communication skills
yes,
and
I'm
create
working on
a
that.
real video, but that's where the learning is, and that's how they learn how to communicate their ideas in the future. I've seen videos where kids are kind of looking all over and not paying attention and kind of mumbling and not getting their point across. But like a short 5-minute tutorial with an activity for the kids to do at home, or, whatever it is that they want to talk about, short, because adults and kids have a very short attention span. So if
Right.
it's more than 5 minutes, no one's gonna probably do it, you know what I mean? And it'll give the teens a real chance to really, instead of going on forever, honing their messaging and building those really important communication skills.
That's a brilliant idea. So just for background, when I run camps and workshops, which I'm running 17 this year, it always starts out with pre and post assessments. I ask them 3 questions at the beginning, 3 questions at the end, and they're all required to present at the end on a video. So that's why I built the video studio. I do love that idea though, of empowering kids to leave a message for the next generation of kids that'll be coming through about what they think they should do. I do that now. I ask them, what advice would you give someone coming on to the next camp? And they do. They leave a 30-second message, and we can watch all those because they're on my YouTube. But that's intriguing. I do need to get over myself and stop thinking about, because mostly it's my grandkids saying, oh man, life is going to be so hard for us. You were so lucky. Like, I don't know why you're saying that, because we can solve this, but they don't feel empowered to do it. And I think invention and creativity and applied STEM is the absolute way we have to do this. But it also requires empathy and kindness and understanding and patience, but also a little bit of revolution. So I do love those ideas. I've written them all down. That's a great idea. I've also been thinking about another strategy. My husband and I want to form a B&B here, so that people can stay here in the winter when I'm not really doing programming, or in the summer when I am doing programming. But I think it's important that people that come here understand the deeper context of what Mezzocello is designed to be. So the name Mezzocello itself is developed on Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's Monticello. And that was my original idea. We were just going to call it Monticello 2.0. And my husband, who is business minded, said, we can't do that. 1, it would be disingenuous because we don't have slaves. And 2, they would sue us. Oh, okay. He says, and 3, we're poor. So the best we could do is like a mezzanine. So let's call it Mezzocello. And I love that. I love that because it's unique. But it is also This is probably my new tagline, actually. Meeting people where they are, halfway between where they are, right? So I want to develop something around that. And I definitely want to develop a digital strain of this because I think it's important that people all around the world understand that we all have one thing in common. We want to love, we want to be loved, and we want to make a difference. So I'm trying to think of ways that I can act on that with what I've developed here, which, by the way, I've developed entirely on my own because the work I was doing at the PAST Foundation was working with schools to develop outdoor learning labs, which we called STEM Outdoor Innovation Labs, SOIL. How clever. And the schools spent thousands and thousands of dollars on these labs and then left in May when Mother Nature needed them the most. And then came back in August complaining to me, a logical human being, well, it didn't do anything. Well, what did you do with it over the summer? What do you mean? So I'm like, well, screw them. I'm just going to build my own. So I did, and it works. But I want them to understand that if you want someone to love you or something to love you, you have to love it back all the time, not just when it's convenient for you. So I keep coming back to that word love and how we can get people to understand the real power of that, of being loved and knowing that you can love others back. And how could we make the world a better place that way? So I really want to build something around that idea. Marcy?
Okay. I have like this weird idea. You can take it or leave it. But if you were having a bed and breakfast in the winter, I'm thinking of like those vertical hydroponic gardens. And what if your summer students would create this like like indoor, something that like visitors to your bed and breakfast, like imagine each little tube coming out of your hydroponic garden was done by a group of students or a student. And when they pick that and they eat that, they have to take a picture of what they made, like what it was, or when you make it, like, you know, whose lettuce it was, and kind of like
That's a great idea.
some kind of connection between the consumer and the grower. And if it could like get back to those kids somehow, like through some kind of like Post-it notes on like a board, like what is it, mural, or like, I don't know, some kind of digital board where you're fostering some type of connection, almost like a pen palish type, I don't know, something, but like who grew, basically connecting it back to like the kids that grew the food. And then people might be more interested once they get on that page, even like with QR codes or something, like a message to the maker, or I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet, but I'll leave you with that to figure it out.
I do love that idea because I do use hydroponics in my biodome, which is a greenhouse that is a geodesic dome covered over in plastic that I raise my citrus through. I
Okay,
do
hold
want to
on.
tell you something funny. You cut out for a moment because the 5G at my farm overtook the Wi-Fi in my house. And when it started cutting out, I'm like, oh, the farm is trying to take over. So I had to switch back. But I did hear everything. I think that's a great idea. I do think that's a really lovely idea. And it's mobile because the hydroponic system, we can take them anywhere. We could take them to festivals, to schools, and have kids eating food that other kids grew for them using these systems. And every system I build that's mobile has a computer, a monitor, and 5G on it. So anywhere I go, they can share that. That's a really interesting idea. Thank you.
Jim,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I'm sorry, we're gonna have to stop there because we have to move on to our next special guests. But you'll get the recap, which we'll have the recording and the list of everybody that's here today, plus everyone who isn't here today. And so if you want to connect further to talk more about that, we encourage it very much. And then
Thank you
do
very much.
plan to come back and share with us, or send me something I can share with the group later that speaks to how it all worked out and what suggestions you would, what you think somebody would do differently next time, or not do differently if you had to implement it again.
You know I'm going
Thank
to
you so
love
much.
data.
Thank you. Monica, Eureka is up. And so for those of you who had ordered the kits from Monica, who are going to go through and make the surprise that she is helping us make, you will want to have those supplies in front of you right now. And if you did not sign up to make the product that she's going to help us with, then please stick around and listen to it if you can or if you want to. And I think you'll get something out of it anyway.
Guys. Oh, can you hear us?
Oh, yeah. Hey, Monica,
Okay.
just before that, I wanted to introduce Max because he wasn't up here. Can you stand up, Max? This is Max. He's gonna play too.
Yay! I'm so excited we have some kids joining us today. I think most of you got the kits that we sent. There was a couple that we had some issues with that I emailed folks about today. We will send those back out. And if you aren't making live with us today, I put in the chat a link to our leader portal for this project where we keep all of the tools and resources. We wanted to share this with you guys so you can feel free to adapt it and use it with your own creative communities. If you don't know us, I'm Monica Aiello, Tyler Aiello, and we are visual artists and the co-founders of Eureka, based in Denver. And we have been designing art and STEM connected programs, projects, and tools for over 20 years. So we have a lot of adventures and various boots on the ground experience. We work with everything from NASA and Botanic Gardens to K-12 schools and libraries. And there's a lot of folks out in the STEM world, but I would say our wheelhouse is really on the physical making and designing process. As artists, we certainly fuse a lot of creative design, and then we go out, and a lot of what we do is mentor both students and teachers on how to physically invent, create, work with simple machines so that they can boost their skills to make them more confident at inventing and prototyping and realizing their creative visions. So since we always like to use our hands, we made this crazy plan with Julie that we're going to actually make live with you today. So I'm going to turn it over to Tyler, and we're going to flip over our camera, and we're actually going to make a project with you.
How's everybody doing? Good, I hope. And then hopefully everybody can see me.
Do you have to double click? Is our screen big?
I have a question. I can pin this and make it a full screen. Would that be better so everyone can see in more detail?
Yeah, that would be better. Does that work?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're going to be making today are these LED name tags, and they're a really simple way to add excitement and engagement using simple circuits and technology. We were asked by the Colorado Department of Education last year to come up with some cool activity for their conference that introduced all sorts of educators to the possibilities of STEAM, but also served as a great icebreaker and team builder. And this was just a wonderful project. And since it's been used in classes and camps, conferences, festivals, donor parties, so we thought maybe this would be fun for you guys and something that you could actually use within your own organizations.
So like Monica was saying, this was something that we kind of came up with both as an intro and a team builder. But one of the things that we do in our own camps is force kids to wear name tags at least the first couple days. But I'll say most conferences and things we go to too, there's always the name tag. And so when we came up with this, the funny thing is at the teachers conference, all the teachers who are in our workshops were walking around with the name tags, and those that weren't were a little jealous and wish they had signed up for the workshop. And so that's part of it, but it gets people talking and maybe integrating a little bit more than they normally would. So I'm going to run through some of the materials and then we'll start making quickly. So these are just a few of the templates that we have. And then as always, we have something that's like blank so that people can make their own creations once they've kind of figured out what's going on with the templates. And then Monica took mine away, but if I could have them back really quick.
Oh.
Within that too, we typically do sheets. So this would be a checklist for things that you need. If you have a class or a large group, you could actually go through and put your totals together. And then again, an easy, quick step-by-step making guides. And oftentimes when we're doing events and stuff like that, we'll actually print these out and laminate them. You guys are welcome to use these too, especially if like you're running summer camps. This is a really quick activity. In our camps during the summer, we have these out and the kids are making them constantly. Kids are trying to make the entire collection. What I did want to show you really quickly though, is like some of these custom ones on the back, because we do have the circuit templates on there. And then one of the main things that the kids are learning during the summer camps with us is how to integrate circuitry into not just a 2-dimensional project, but like a 3-dimensional project, and what it takes to kind of design that circuit.
So they need to cut out. If you
So-
guys haven't yet, we want you to cut out one of your templates and the battery box. We don't have a ton of time, so we're going to focus on the engineering, and folks like Julie can even decorate later when she gets her crayons.
And you guys do have access to all the templates too, so you could print these again and just print them on cardstock. So we will want to cut all of these out and your battery box, and I'll give everybody maybe a minute or two to do that. We'll wait. I colored mine ahead of time.
So, Monica et al., what do you think the cost of each one of these is for materials?
It's about $2.50,
Oh, that's nothing.
right? Well,
And-
when we
and-
were,
It might be a little less. When
yeah,
we started designing projects for NASA, one of their big the big pushes was to make it affordable for anybody.
Right.
And so we really started over the last close to 20 years traveling around the country. We have a lot of experience in the classrooms from elementary through high school. And we really started looking at the types of projects we're doing, how they were being tied to standards, and then the materials that were most readily available. And so if you look at our website, you'll see the same types of materials all the time.
Yeah.
And we use things like straws and skewers
There
for
we go.
bushings and bearings and axles. But everything we try to do is probably under $1.50. Some projects get a little bit more expensive. But that seems to be about the budget for most schools.
Yeah, I just joined your mail list, so I'll follow.
another thing we love is paper engineering. We call it paperneering, and a lot of what we do is just with basic stuff. And so once you get this weird T-shaped thing created, this is one of our origami battery boxes. And you'll see there's a circuit diagram on top. We're going to fold it in half. And then we're going to fold back the little squares. And you'll notice it says peak folds and valley folds. So we're in Colorado. We have lots of mountains. So you're essentially making this accordion fold shape. And then to assemble it, and all this is in the video tutorials too, if you guys go back and watch that. We love to go around the room and have the kids mark X, X, O, O on their battery box. And all they're simply doing is they're going to be gluing O to O and X to X to make their paper stronger. Little materials engineering. So we're just going to put some stick glue down the center of that and glue our X to X and our O to O. So you're making the short little T space. Make sure that you can see the diagrams on both sides.
So it goes, what's happening is you have a big T like this. And if you look at it from the side, you end up with an M. And then when we fold it and glue it together, we end up with a short T. So we go from a tall T to a short T. And then on the back, you'll see that it has a circle. It says glue. Now, one of the reasons that we typically do all of this before we glue together the name tag is because building the circuit, laying the copper tape and everything is a little bit easier ahead of time, and especially for coloring. A little glue on there. The most important thing here is to make sure that your circuit diagram is actually lining up.
So those black lines are going to line up together, and that's going to be the negative side of your circuit. And the gray is going to be the positive side of your circuit.
And when we talk about positive and negative, we're really talking about the forward flow of the electrons. They need to come out of, with an LED light, they only work one direction, and that's with the forward flow of electrons. So it comes out of the positive side, and it is going to run through the long side of the LED. So LEDs have a short lead and a long lead, and the long lead is always going to be positive. And so that's going to be the positive side. For your copper tape, and especially for younger makers, this can be a little bit tricky. And the easiest way to do this is to fold over the very corner of your copper. Because the copper is metal, it's going to stay folded over, whereas your paper should spring back. And you don't want to pull all of it off, because if you do, your copper tape is very thin and it's going to curl up like a ribbon and you won't be able to use it. So just pull back about an inch at a time and go ahead and place it on your circuit where you want it to go. And then pull back the white as you pull back the copper.
You're going to place it directly on the negative side. We always like to start our circuits on the negative side because generally you're adding a switch to the positive side, which is a little more tricky. So the negative side tends to be pretty straightforward.
So once we get our negative side down, we do want to burnish it with a copper stick. And I always tell my students to be, or not a copper stick, but a popsicle stick. And that you're just really flattening down the copper where it steps down from the battery box. You want to make sure that you don't tear it. This is also, if you're doing this with a group of students, this part right here, where it steps down and you have a change in elevation, is where somebody's most likely to break the copper tape and break their circuit. Now, I will say, if you're going to use hot glue to glue your battery box down, now would be a good time to turn it on. I forgot to plug mine in. We can also use stick glue. And then afterwards, if you have Scotch tape, we're going to go over some of the circuit with Scotch tape just to make sure it doesn't come apart, since we are not soldering with it. So at this point, if you don't have hot glue, you would want to take your battery, and the positive side is the shiny slick side, and it has a little plus symbol. That is going to be facing up, and the negative side is going to be facing down. And what we want to do now is actually glue our battery box down.
You can use hot glue or stick glue on this portion.
So if you're using stick glue or hot glue, the most important thing is not to get glue on your battery. And you don't want to glue it. Can you get me another? My stick glue just blew apart.
You got 13 minutes.
So the most important thing is not to glue your battery to your battery box, or to get glue anywhere between the metal surfaces and the copper surfaces, because the glue is going to act as an insulator and not allow those electrons to flow. So a little glue on your tab, hold your battery box down tight. And I like to use a popsicle stick to make a nice little square corner on my box. And then we're going to do the same thing with the other side, flipping up our tabs. Glue on top of your tab. Make sure you hold your battery box down. And again, then go ahead and get your other side glued down. And what you should have is you should have a nice little pocket where your battery is sitting in the center of it.
The reason we love doing these pockets is it allows us to replace the battery. So we do a lot of paper engineered battery boxes for most of our tech projects.
Some of our students have
You
been
got
with
10
us for a very long time. They come back and they teach with us in middle and high school and end up having like entire boxes filled with all of their projects.
Monica,
So-
did you do Marcy's comment?
Yes, Tyler designed this amazing, this is one of our COVID learning curves, film station that has cameras, monitors, lights, microphone, so that we could do more and more online training. Pre-COVID, you had to have us like travel out in the world. You got 10 minutes. I'm going to make him go forward, but we can definitely share that with you.
So again, we're going to pull back a little bit more of our copper tape, and now we're going to work on the positive side of our circuit. And we're going to start the center of the battery box. Again, make sure that when it steps down from the top of the battery box that you're following the contour of the box as best you can. Again, if it's going to tear, it's going to tear in that transition. Wherever we cut our copper tape, we want to make sure that we overlap it and don't just butt our copper together. So when we overlap it, we're really just going to set this right in the center of our copper. And again, pull back the white as you bring the copper up the top of your circuit. And then we can go ahead and cut it. And then again, we're going to burnish. One of the reasons we're burnishing is not just to make sure that the copper tape is stuck down, but also where the copper tape overlaps, it sticks. And this copper tape was originally made not for actually circuits, but actually for bug barriers and other things like that for doing stained glass work. It does have a heat adhesive on the back that's actually meant to be heated up with something like a soldering iron, which gets it to kind of flow and is more like a epoxy. We don't have that, but the heat from our popsicle stick works. So you want to test your light before you stick it in. I hope I'm not moving too fast for people.
9 minutes.
Hopefully everybody has their circuit to this point right now. So
Show
what?
them different.
Oh. So we need to glue it together now too. So we have our circuit. We're going to go ahead and glue it together really quick so we can poke our hole through there. I'm going to use stick glue again.
Again, we're doubling the paper to make it stronger and thicker. We print these on cardstock, but they can still get flimsy, especially once you add art supplies that have any wetness to them. So doubling up your paper will make them nice and strong.
We talk about this, especially when we do our NASA programs, because when we were doing the NASA projects, one of the things they wanted us to address was materials engineering and how easy it is to do. So in our camps, oftentimes kids aren't just engineering with like paper and glue, but finding other things that they can use that have properties they want. Now that we have our name tag glued together, we're going to want to go ahead and put our hole in there. So the holes are marked on the back side and actually come through your drawing on the front. We like to use these leather hole punches. They're really cheap. If you don't have something like a leather hole punch, I think Monica included push pin. Oh, maybe she didn't.
They could put that on the list. Maybe it
So
supplies.
we're going to want to go ahead and push that through from the backside. Make sure you don't stab your finger. Then we're going to make that hole a little bit bigger coming through the front side with our pencil. And what that's doing is pushing the paper to the back. We don't need it as big as the pencil, but just big enough that we can get our LED light through there. So I'm going to test my light again. I'm going to use a blinky light. Again, we need to know which side is positive and negative. So the long side is positive. we're going to push this through from the front, and we're going to want to make sure that the long side is actually facing the positive side of our circuit. And we're going to bend that over, and then we're going to bend the other one down as well to make sure that it's on the negative side. Now, if you guys want to test right now, you can put your paper clip in. Paper clip is going to go so that it goes inside the battery box and then touches the top piece of copper here. And then we can go ahead. Mine's not working. There it goes. You can go ahead and just hold your leads down on the backside to test.
So we're using that paper clip as a switch. We love using all sorts of conductive stuff like paper clips, binder clips, even little Christmas bells. Those brass bells will function well as switches. So any small metal object we often use as switch designs, as opposed to having to go out and buy, complicated or expensive electronics.
So to finish up, I've cut 2 small pieces of my copper tape. One's about a little over a 1/2 inch and the other one's about 3/4 of an inch. Again, I'm going to start by folding back the very corner of my copper, and then I'm going to peel it off. And what we're doing now is we're going to stick our leads from our light down to our copper using the copper tape. So we're going to put that on top. This part is very important that we go ahead and burnish with our popsicle stick. And make sure that you have good contact. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And again, we're going to burnish this down. One of the things that you do want to make sure of if you're doing this with a class or at a camp or a group of kids, especially if you're not soldering, is how clean their hands are. There's something in electronics called continuity, and too much grease, dirt, and stuff like that being rubbed on the copper ahead of time can make less continuity in your circuit where the electrons might not want to travel across that surface very well.
Yeah, we just got a question about soldering. So this project you can easily do with soldering. We solder with kids as young as kindergarten. Most people don't have that capacity though. On the Leader webpage that we sent, there are video tutorials to make this project with or without soldering so that it is scalable for whatever age or experience level you have.
Now that we have our circuit done, what we want to make sure is that it's not going to come apart on us later on. So what I'm doing is I am taking a small piece of Scotch tape, or not very small, but big enough to cover up my circuit. Again, I'm going to burnish over that. What that's going to do is hopefully prevent myself or younger students who might be rough on things from actually tearing their circuit apart by playing with it and stuff like that. Now I'm going to do this side. If you did something like I did where you use stick glue on your battery box, another place that you might want to put some tape is here and on this side. Where you don't want to ever put tape is on this copper pad right here, because again, the tape is going to be an insulator, and what we need to do is get the power out of the battery inside our box into this copper pad on the top. So again, I'm going to put just a little bit, knowing that I use stick glue. I'm just going to glue down my box a little bit better. Okay. So now that I have this done, again, we would just want to test and make sure everything is working. If for some reason it's not working, oftentimes the problem is a loose battery because the battery box isn't tight enough. And if it's something like that, what we do is we take about an inch to an inch and a half piece of the copper, and we just fold it into a little square. And by doing that, what we're able to do is kind of shove it into our battery box to pick up the gap and whatever slack we may have in there, so that we have good contact between our battery box, our paper clip, and our copper circuit on the top.
I know we're almost out of time, but I wanted to give you guys a couple options of how to convert these into things that'll actually stay on your body. It depends on your budgets that you have. We get these little safety pin clips on Amazon that you can just stick onto here. Another very affordable solution is just mini little clothespins that you can glue on. You can also simply glue on another paper clip or like a jumbo clip so that you can stick it onto like your t-shirt top. Finally, if we're doing this with grown-ups, we do a lot of adult maker nights. Jim, I wanted to mention that to you too. We do adult maker nights and adult camps, and we have kids lead them, which are a really great way to get the adult buy-in. But these are magnetic so that they don't ruin fancy business clothes or, you know, attire.
The one thing with the magnets, and especially with older audiences, is you have to let people know, especially if they have a pacemaker or anything like that, not to use this. So we do typically have both the pins and the magnets. I will also say with younger students, watch your pins. We had students last summer, and we never thought about this until it happened. They were making grappling hooks by sticking two of them together and pulling the pins out, but then they were leaving them laying around in the grass. And so again, very creative use of materials.
Did you step on it?
No, luckily I found it, and then we had a little lecture. And I will just say this, Jim, because I know that some of the issues we may talk about sometimes are scary. In our classes, it's material management and the resources we as humans kind of tend to waste and all of the things. So there are times where I have a very serious conversation about resources, material management, the number of planets we're going to need in 50 years. And I will even show them the plastic island floating out in the ocean. And I do have parents that come back and talk to me. And most of the time I'll just say they thank me. They thank me because I've introduced a very difficult conversation into their lives, and one that they don't know how to have with their kids. And it is scary, but it's also fixable through creative solutions.
We try to empower them by doing things like this, that increasing their imaginations, but also giving them the physical tactile skills so they can be better engineers, designers, and just innovators. So anyway, that was like speed making. Did anybody actually finish one?
We captured the because we had so many interruptions of people coming in and out of the cabin. So we are going to do it all over again in a little bit.
Okay, well, there's great video tutorials on the website that chunk it out step by step that are super easy to follow.
Yeah, the video tutorials will be easier than following along with me, I think.
Thank you for this. This is amazing.
We will send you a picture.
Thanks for joining our experiment. First maker meetup.
Yeah. Hey, I want to thank everyone for coming to the meeting tonight. I know it's past the time, and hope to see you all on May 2nd. One last ask from me. If you have students who have an interest in presenting at the Alliance meetings, I am booking June through the end of the year. So just let me know if you know of anyone who might be interested in sharing and looking for a little advice from the group. And with that, wish you all a good night and a good weekend.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Eureka.
Thank you.